Well, good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Callan Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning. And what it is, it's a live call-in show. And we invite you to call in and ask questions regarding the topic that we're discussing this morning, or anything regarding your health. That is what the show's all about, helping you live a healthier lifestyle. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you, so if you have a question to call in. We started this series last week talking about specific nutrients,
optimal levels.
Optimal levels of nutrients that you should get, because you get warnings on whenever you get regular medication. You get warnings on there all the time. Don't take more than this. Don't take it with this, or whatever. Well, what about nutrients, or any kind of supplements that we take? Is there too much that we can take?
Oh, sure. Poison is in the dose. I mean, the waters can be poisoning. I mean, if you drink too much. So it's a matter of dosing. But there are certain things you need, like water. Okay, you get too much, yeah, it could be poison. Too little, it could be poison also, because you can't survive without it. And some of these nutrients are that way too. For instance, one of the ones that we didn't talk about last week is chromium. And yeah, chromium, not the stuff on your wheels, okay, but the mineral. And chromium is an extremely important nutrient when it comes to sugar regulation, especially handling sugar, among other things. But that's probably the most important aspect of.
And chromium can be taken. Some things that are more for lowering blood sugar, of course you don't want to take if your blood sugar is already low, but chromium helps both high and low.
Right.
So it helps you handle sugar when it's high, but it keeps it from falling as easily when you have hypoglycemia. Now, a lot of people don't realize hypoglycemia actually is also a sugar handling problem.
It is. And
later in life they tend to become diabetic. So chromium is definitely very good for those people as well. And it definitely helps. And chromium, usually most dosages on chromium is 200 micrograms. That's what you see in most, I mean, you can't say all, and some products have a little less, but on the majority, and we have one called Chromate, and it is 200 micrograms. And it is a polynicotinate, which has the proven glucose tolerance factor. But the chromium is good to take with each meal.
It really is. Normally, when somebody asks you, how much do you take? One with each meal is going to get, if you do 3 meals a day, that's going to give you about 600. Somewhere in that range. And looking at the literature about it, it doesn't really become, if you will, toxic till you get really high. Really high.
There's even a lot of people that recommend 1,000. But I would say probably 600 is usually plenty for someone with a sugar problem. Now, if you don't have a sugar problem, you don't necessarily want to go out and take all the chromium you can take, but it does help with also sugar cravings. So it does help with weight loss in that way. And it helps, like I said, it's one of those nutrients that is very important. We have it by itself, like I said, in Chromate, and then we also have it in our glucose support formula, which is specifically for blood sugar control. Now, it's more for high blood sugar. So if somebody just has hypoglycemia, they'd want to take plain chromium, to where if they actually have a sugar problem or diabetic or pre-diabetic, they'd probably want to take our GSF. So it's just differences in which you would take, and it is made to take with each meal. So that's kind of chromium.
That's the biggie with chromium, yeah. Now, something else that we didn't talk about, and this is something that can be a needed nutrient, iron.
And it can be one that can definitely get too much.
I was going to say, we've talked about that.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. So iron's
iron.
a real important one, because I always tell people you should never just go out and take iron without knowing that you need it.
Correct.
That is one that you don't want to just take a bunch of iron, ever.
And we see people do that. You remember that Geritol? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Iron, poor blood, right? And, for some of us oldies, we remember that used to be on TV all the time. All the time. And of course, everybody thought, well, I'll just go give me some Geritol. Do they still make that stuff? I suppose they do. I mean, I don't know. But there's other things out there that have iron in it.
Yeah.
And we get people all the time saying, I've been feeling kind of tired. I started taking iron. Sure enough, when we do the lab work on them, their ferritin's too high. Now, ferritin is just stored iron. And you can get too much of it.
And actually, all anemias are not iron deficiencies.
Correct.
That's another thing people need to know. Oh, I'm anemic, I need to take iron. No. Again, you got to check your iron panel and you got to check your ferritin. Iron panel actually shows what iron is in the bloodstream. Your ferritin is what is in storage. Sometimes there's issues with extreme inflammatory responses where all the iron goes into storage and there's not enough in the bloodstream. So you have to make judgment calls at that point. But that's kind of what we're there for, is to help you decide if it's good for you to take or not. And then some people are iron deficient. There are definite iron deficiencies.
There are.
And of course, women still having cycles are one of the common ones you see with an iron deficiency, or men that donate blood regularly. You know, you have some people that they go every 56 days, which is where they let you donate. And that's actually good for them, but sometimes on those we have to add a little iron so that they can keep donating. So it just depends on, you know, the person. And if everybody hadn't seen, there is blood drive at the mall today and tomorrow. And we do recommend that people do that if you're one that is a candidate for donation, because I think it's good for overall health to donate.
Yeah, they've actually shown that and they did a study just for men, but they said, you know, in men that donated blood, I think it was regularly.
Yeah, regularly.
Showed like a 30% reduction in overall cardiovascular, strokes, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Very beneficial to donate blood.
Yeah.
If you can. Now, if you're already anemic yourself for other reasons, then no, you can't go give blood because you don't have enough yourself. But they do check that before they take it. And right now they're begging for blood out there. So if you are one
especially
that's
if you've got O positive or O negative, which are
if you're O negative, they're going to chase you down.
Yeah. O negative is your universal donor. So like I said, just go out. They are there today and tomorrow at the mall.
Right.
But anyway, the iron. Now, if somebody, a woman that is having a cycle, they probably can take a little bit of 18 milligrams is about the normal dosage for just if you're not anemic, just because you are having a cycle. I don't ever recommend men taking it at all if they don't. Now, if you were deficient, it takes a lot more than that. I mean, we have people that our iron by itself starts at 28 milligrams, and we may have them do 4 a day. It depends on the person. It depends on how anemic. All that depends on the lab work. So I definitely don't just go right out and take iron. See where you are, and then make that call. And don't just take iron because you're anemic either.
Yeah. That's the key. Is if you don't need it, don't take it.
Right.
Okay. We're talking about, can you take too much of nutrients, anything like that, really. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you if you have any questions. And we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back. It's our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We're talking about nutrients and can you possibly overdose or take too much of a particular nutrient, which is yes.
You can. It's possible. Now, in some cases, it's pretty easy. Other cases, you really got to try.
Yeah, this next one, actually, more is better.
Right.
Most things out there, more is not always better.
Right.
You know, you want a specific dose, but on CoQ10, definitely more can be better. Research on CoQ10 goes up to about 1,200 milligrams. Now, that's a lot. Now, not everybody needs that. It's really, the research on that is more for congestive heart failure, things like that, that you're treating a specific problem. On CoQ10, though, it is one of those things that many, many people need mostly because of medications. When you look at nutrient depleted by medications, CoQ10 is one of the biggies. When you look, the books will have a list, a long list of drugs that deplete CoQ10. Most of your heart medications do, the beta blockers do, the statin drugs do. So those alone cover many people. And if you're taking a statin or a beta blocker, you absolutely need to take CoQ10. Now, also some of the diabetic drugs. They've been shown to actually deplete CoQ10. So there's a lot of medications out there, and a lot of medications that people take that deplete your CoQ10. And CoQ10 is just something that you don't get readily from the diet.
No, it's something, our body makes CoQ10. I mean, we get a little bit from the diet, but not that much.
Yeah.
Really not much at all, not a significant amount. But our body makes it. And the problem with like the statin drugs is the way the same pathway that makes coenzyme Q10 makes cholesterol. okay, the HMG-CoA reductase. All right, so when we do something like a statin drug that blocks the body's ability to make that cholesterol, so it's lowering the cholesterol, it interferes with our body making coenzyme Q10. And that's why you see so many people that have some of the muscle problems and so on that go along with statin drugs. And a lot of times if they're having some of those muscle problems, if we just give them enough CoQ10, it eliminates it.
Now, CoQ10 is essential for muscles, and your heart is a muscle, and it's all the heart medications that deplete it. So usually if you're taking one of those things, you definitely want to do stuff healthy for your heart. CoQ10 is known for it, but it also, if you don't have enough CoQ10, you get really tired, lethargic, muscle weakness, immune system lowering. It does a lot to you. So CoQ10 is good. Now, if you're taking any of those medications, a minimum, I mean minimum, I would say is 100. I really liked at least 200.
Or more.
Or more of CoQ10 to actually help with those depletions.
Right.
Now, we have the one we probably sell the most of is a 300 milligram. And it actually has something called DMG with it too. And DMG is just, again, healthy for the muscles, healthy for the heart, healthy for everything, really. It helps the brain. It actually helps oxygen carrying capability. So it does a lot of things. And so the DMG CoQ10 together is the one that we probably sell the most of. And it's 300 milligrams. And like I said, though, you can go 600, you can go 900, you can go 1200. So it is one that it takes an extreme dose to get too much.
Yeah, it does. You know, I always tell them the limiting factor on that's your pocketbook.
Right, because CoQ10 is not the cheapest nutrient out there. And so it ends up costing a lot if you take a high dose. So that's one of the things that you definitely,
but how much is your life worth?
That's right. You know,
how much is your life
worth?
You know, especially if you've got something like, you know, and there's probably a lot of our people listening that have, you know, reduced, you know, function of the heart. I hate to say the full-blown heart failure or, you know, congestive heart failure, but still they have a decreased output of the heart. And something to help boost that, coenzyme Q10. And it's amazing how it'll really help if they'll take it regularly. And it needs to be taken every day.
Yeah.
It's not something you take once a week.
And it helps muscles function better, and the heart is a muscle.
It's the most important muscle in our body, really. So very
CoQ10 is essential for most people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when you get down, and we've had a whole show on mitochondrial function and so on, and the mitochondria depend on coenzyme Q10. It's part of that pathway in that mitochondria, and every cell in your body except one needs it, has to have it. The one that doesn't, red blood cell, it steals everything it needs. It gets it somewhere. Don't worry about it. I got it. You know, but it depends on everything else working right. So it can. But the red blood cell doesn't have a mitochondria, so it gets all its energy from somewhere else. So. But everything else depends on coenzyme
ATP
Q10.
production, which is cellular energy, actually is essential to have CoQ10.
Right, right, no doubt.
All right.
A biggie that we always talk about, though, omega-3.
Oh, yeah, I knew that was coming.
And omega-3 always has tons of questions on how much do I take or what, you know, and people don't really most people don't understand looking at the dosage of omega-3. They always say, oh, I take 1,000 milligrams. Well, that really doesn't matter that much.
Doesn't tell you much.
It doesn't tell you much. You have to look at the EPA and DHA content of the omega-3.
Yeah, and if you'll pick up your bottle, wherever you get it, on the side, it's got something called supplement facts. The very first thing to pay attention to is serving size. 1 capsule, 2 capsules, 10, whatever. And it'll tell you the serving size. So whatever that serving is, and then you look down there and see how much EPA and DHA you're actually going to get. That's the eicosapentaenoic acid and the docosahexaenoic acid. Those are the two important omega-3s.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of others, but those are the two.
And a lot of the research shows you want about 3,000 of those together is a dosage. So it's not 3,000 of omega-3.
No.
It's 3,000 of what they call the fatty acids in omega-3.
Yeah, the esterified fatty acids.
And so a lot of your omega-3s out there are very weak. The majority of the ones in the big box stores, not all of them, but the majority are 180 EPA and 120 DHA, which means you got to take quite a few of those to equal 3,000.
Yeah. Right. Well, I take 3 a day of the omega-3 DHA EPA.
Right. You take our high strength, and for 2 capsules, you get 900 of the EPA and 660 of the DHA. So it's actually a
So I'm
much
right up
higher
there.
dose, right? And we even have an EPA by itself that's 1,200. So we have a lot of different things, but we don't even carry the ones that are 180, 120 because you got to take 10 of them a day to even make a difference.
Wow.
Which most people are not going to do.
No.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to look at, and people get that wrong a lot. They think they're taking a lot, and they're not. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. 8960713 or 800-349-0713. We're talking about minerals, supplements, and everything that you can actually overdose on. Well, I wouldn't say overdose.
Another thing just to mention real quick is krill, because krill, the EPA and DHA is lower. Naturally, it is more absorbable. So the research saying you need 3,000 is usually looking at fish oil. Krill, you can go a little bit less and still get good benefit from it.
All right.
But you still need more than most people take.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back with this week's special. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Our phone lines are open at 8960713 or 800-349-0713. We have a couple of questions we'll get to in just a moment. But let's go ahead and take a look at what this week's special is.
CoQ10. It's going to be the Doctor's Nutrition brand CoQ10. And we have 100 milligram, we have a 300 milligram. So those are the ones that's on sale, and it's just we talked about how good it was and how most people out there need it. And so this week it'll be 25% off.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a question. I was taking glutathione for a while. I was wondering what the benefits of it are and why can you only buy it online?
For one, you can't just buy it online because we have many different forms of glutathione.
Right.
The liposomal is your more absorbable, and we do have liposomal in capsules. We have liposomal in liquid, and then we have an acetyl glutathione that is actually in capsule form that is also very absorbable. Your just plain reduced glutathione is not very absorbable, so that's not the one that you want. And benefits, it is your own body's antioxidant.
It's the major antioxidants that our body makes for everything that we need it for. So think about an antioxidant. Why would you take an antioxidant? Well, there's why you take glutathione. And it's essential.
Lots of research for the brain, lots for the liver, a lot for detoxification. I mean, there is even for, mold detoxification. That is the main thing that's used, and we are all exposed to mold on the coast.
Yeah.
There has never been a person that we've done tests to see if they had mold toxins that wasn't positive if they lived here. So glutathione also helps with that. So detoxification, brain, liver, kidney, you start naming it, it's good for it.
Brain's a really biggie.
We both take it ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So we both take glutathione, yeah.
What else? It's just one more pill, right? But yeah. And, people always ask us, do you take this stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I take
Whatever
it.
it is. Pretty much, yeah, we've tried it. But this glutathione thing, especially for the brain, it's extremely big. We get a lot of people who've had strokes, and it helps so much in the recovery phase.
Definitely
really
helps the brain. And a lot of people, whoever it was typed in, they might think, they may have looked for glutathione at a big box store. You're not going to get specialty products at those stores. They're going to be very basic nutrients. They may or may not have what it says on the label. And so you're not going to get into specialty products like glutathione. Like I said, we have many different forms of glutathione in our store. We've had it for years. So come by and get it. Like I said, we always have it. And like a few of them are capsules. We have one capsule that is refrigerated. We have other stuff that's not refrigerated. So it just depends on how it's made and the form. But glutathione is another one of those nutrients we probably should be talking about dose because honestly, it's really good. And about 500 milligrams is your optimal dose for glutathione.
All right.
Yep.
8960713 or 800-349-0713. We still have some time to take your phone calls, but we have a couple other things. I believe probiotics.
Yeah,
I was going to say probiotics, right? We talk about that all the time. And I guess we've been doing this for what, 6 or 7 years with the show?
Longer than that, it seems.
And we've been talking about probiotics for the whole 6 or 7 years. And actually, in the most recent year or so, you're seeing, or past year and a half, maybe 2 years, you're seeing so much research come out about the link between the probiotics and the brain. And, it's just amazing. The science is we're just scratching the surface.
And leaky gut.
Leaky gut, you name it.
There's so many things with probiotics. Yeah. And we kind of recommend, I think on a daily basis, it's best to do at least 50 billion. And that's billion, not million.
Right.
So 50 billion, I think, is just a good dose for adults. Now, we even have a lot of kids that are on 20 billion. We even have an infant formula that's 10 billion. So we're talking about, you want multi kinds. You don't want just acidophilus.
No.
And just one strand, unless you're talking about a specific problem, because those you can get into some specifics. But as a whole, just for general health, we recommend at least 50, and we go up from there, because we have ones that are 100, we have ones that are 350 billion. We have a lot of different strengths. But
we get, like last week, I had a lady that had taken 4 rounds of antibiotics for something that she needed to take antibiotics for. I mean, there's no doubt. But she's okay. She's over that now. Now, of course, her gut's not in too good a shape after all that. And she said, what am I going to have to do to get, because she's been she was taking something that had like 2 or 3 billion. Okay. And I said, okay, well, typically after somebody's had that much of antibiotics and so on, we'll typically go 350 billion a day minimum. And we do that for 15 days. Then we drop down to about the 100 billion. And then we'll stay at 100 billion for probably at least a month or so, and then start maybe backing down to that 50 if we can. A lot of people, once you've had that kind of therapy, they may have to take 100 billion a day.
It does
long term.
I take the Flora 50B,
Yeah.
which is 50 billion a day, just on a regular basis.
See, I take 100 every day just for a regular basis, without a problem.
I think one of the, and you kind of touched
I actually take 100 plus. I take other stuff
You
too.
take
I
other
take a
stuff
lot of
too,
other
yeah.
stuff too. Yeah,
I
I
think
probably
you
get a lot more because I take Saccharomyces boulardii.
Oh, yeah,
I take a lot more than that actually.
Yeah, we do. It's really that good. But and you touched on something, the acidophilus thing. For years, for like 40 years, people have been thinking about acidophilus, because that was the only thing they knew. And, of course, the yogurt and stuff would have acidophilus in it. And that's what they thought. But that's only one strain. There's literally tens of thousands of strains of probiotics.
Yeah.
And the more research is coming out, we're looking at things like, for instance, some of the acidophilus strains, and they're saying, but this one particular strain, SBE 6778, that's the one that really does the job. Okay, so where do we get that? It's got that specific. We have a lot of the
specifics. You can get very specific probiotics and very specific strains, but they get a little bit more costly than the ones for overall health.
Right.
So, Now, the other thing we wanted to talk about, we only have a couple minutes, is we were going to talk about, people are always asking another thing, it's not really about dosage, but which lab work they might need. Now, we are always there to talk to you and answer those questions about which lab work might be best for you. Kind of a quick as a whole, because we only got a couple minutes, we never recommend less than our expanded panel. Our expanded panel we even do on the teenagers, and now if a little bitty kid, we can't do that much blood, but but teenagers and up, we definitely do the expanded panel. When somebody hits 50, I always say 50 or have a lot of cardiovascular risk in their family, always do the expanded cardiac panel. And then our super panel has the hormones and all the cardiac stuff. Never hurts to do that either. So we're always there to help with specifics. And next week, our show is on functional medicine and exactly what is it, why you do it, why you look at lab work so closely, what does it mean, and there may even be a lab work special next week.
Oh.
Could be.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And we will let you know that as it is Labor Day, it is a special pre-recorded show.
Yes.
So we will not be here taking your phone calls, so we'll be enjoying the day off as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us again today. Join us again next Monday morning at 9 o'clock as we have a special show on functional medicine. And enjoy your week. And we'll see you back live in a couple of weeks.
There you go.
All right. Thank you for joining us. More information on doctorsnutrition.com or on their Facebook page.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.